Welcome back to Season 3, Class 2, focusing on target panic and overcoming it along with buck fever. Now in the last class, we identified these issues and I asked you for one thing as homework, and that was for you to go and make the decision that you're ready to overcome that before you come to the next class. So hopefully you're to that point, because from here on out, there's no looking back. We're going to overcome target panic, you're going to overcome buck fever, and you're also going to start making the best archery shots of your life. Now there's going to be some steps and several weeks that it's going to take to get us there, but believe me, nothing worth having comes easy. And this is one of those things that I can tell you, I definitely cherish the fact that in my archery career, in my bow hunting life, I struggled with a lot of things and I was terrible at a lot of things before I ever learned the right ways to get through them, and also really learn the right ways of shooting. Because now I appreciate that way and have a better understanding also because of those things that I did in the past that were wrong. So it's going to be good that you experience those things, but it's going to also be even better that you're going to move forward. So for this class, two of the things that are going to be critical that we're going to be using is a tension-based release and also some type of shot simulator, in this case, a shot trainer. If you don't have one of those, you can also use a long piece of paracord that you've made in a circle to your draw length, or a piece of D-loop material that's long enough to do the same thing. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on making shots and executing shots using our tension-based release aids. Now, if you have one of these and you haven't properly set it up, make sure you go ahead and look at the proper setup of those release aids so that you're able to shoot them properly. Remember, we want them set to where once we disengage the safety, we have to continually pull for an extra few pounds until we get that surprise shot. Now the theme for this week is behind the line. And this is something that even to this day, I continually practice. In fact, this last week, I had a live practice session where people saw me draw a line on the ground and really focus for several days on this exact technique, behind the line. Now this is a technique that makes you focus on what you're doing actively behind your center line of your body. Now in that training video, which you're welcome to watch on our YouTube channel, I actually had my jacket zipped down so that I could see the logo in the center of my shirt. So each time I looked down at my feet, I also had a reminder that what I'm really focusing on for this practice session is my movement and what I'm thinking about from my center line back behind me. When you start focusing on what's downrange, then you start to factor in some of those key elements that I talked about last week, which is a conscious thought of what's happening on that front half. And so you might start to think about some of those issues you were dealing with of I'm not aiming good enough, I'm not solid, etc. One of the things that separates some of the top-level coaches and top-level archers is the subject of, am I supposed to aim or am I supposed to pull? Now, I'm a huge believer in dynamics and active shooting with the rear half, way more so than focusing on what that front pin's doing. In fact, I want to have an idea of where my pin is, and I want to know that my pin's within the spot that I want to hit it, but I actually focus through that pin and downrange way more than bringing my attention right directly to the pin. But more so than that, the conscious thinking that I'm doing is disengaging that safety and thinking about that continual movement and that continual pull until the shot happens. So for this class session, you're going to focus on behind the line. And this is something that, again, I do as a training aid and as a training practice, and sometimes I practice this same technique for weeks on end in order to fine-tune my skills, especially if I haven't been shooting as much as I've wanted. So I've gone ahead and drawn a line on the ground, and I also wrote the words behind the line as a reminder so that between shots, if I look down at my feet, I'm able to see that. So for this exercise and for your exercise as well, I'm going to go ahead and choose an object, which is going to be my simulated target. So in this case, it's going to be the camera lens. And I'm going to pretend like I'm taking an archery stance so that I'm going to be able to acquire that target. Now to start out, I'll go ahead and use a back strap first, since a lot of you I know are wrist strap shooters. So what we're going to do is we're going to load the release onto that. Again, we have no aiming device right now. And all we're going to do is pretend like we're anchoring in our normal position. Feel comfortable in this shot. Stand proud. Make sure your elbow is up. And feel a little of that tension between your shoulder blades. And where you feel that tension once your elbow's up, you're going to maintain that tension and you're going to pull your elbow straight behind you to a 12 o'clock position. Okay, so I've raised up, I've anchored, disengaged the safety, and now I'm pulling. Perfect. If that's the first time that you've ever made a shot where you did not know when it was going to go off, then you've just made a huge step. Now, this is something that I want you to continually do, and what's awesome about a shot trainer is that you can do this anywhere in the house. You can do it at work, you can do it on a break. For my wife, for my son, when they were learning archery, they actually didn't have a bow for months before they ever shot one. They actually had a shot trainer, and I would tell them every time there's a commercial on TV, I want you to stand up and make shots until the commercials are off. So all they focused on was seeing down, thinking of that center line, go ahead and draw, come into their anchor position, being tall and proud, taking the safety off, and behind my center line, I'm just focusing on this pull. Those last three shots, as easy as they look, are all that you need to take those steps forward to overcome target panic. Now I'm going to do the same thing with a handheld release, the Silverback Plus. So in this case, once again, draw a breath in, stand proud, come to your anchor position, let your breath escape slow as you let off your safety and continue to pull until you get that surprise shot. Now, as simple as this sounds, this is actually reinforcing the habit of just trusting letting off the safety or disengaging the safety and continually pulling until you get that shot. Now I can tell you again, from students that I've had, there's been many of them that as much as they wanted to progress this easy step into shooting their bow, they simply could not do it when they rushed into it. Depending on how serious of a situation you have with your target panic, this is something where you may need to just say, you know what, I'm going to lock my bow in a closet or lock it in this case until I can prove to myself that I can go through week 2 and week 3 without any type of issue before I'm going to go back to trying to do what I did before I started this class. So I want you to think your center line, focus on smooth shots behind the line and pulling through. There's no use to focus on the front half. There's no use to focus on how still you are or how you're aiming or anything about peep height, about a kisser button, nothing. All you need to focus on is your anchor position, making sure your elbow's not falling down to where you're not able to build pressure. Keep that elbow up, stay proud, don't stay shrunk over. Make sure you breathe, draw air in as you're drawing back, come to your anchor position, feel comfortable, let your air slowly escape as you're continually pulling against the back wall. I want you to do this for this next week and prove to yourself that you have everything it takes to make an absolutely perfect shot, the same shot that the world's best archers rely on every day. See you next week.